What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing another AFL Evolution 2 wishlist. I've got no idea how many of these I've done on the channel now. I have done one 2020 AFL Evolution 2 wishlist, so if you guys haven't seen that, I will link in the description down below. I think this is actually my last, this is probably going to be my last AFL Evolution 2 wishlist before the game obviously ends up coming out, which I think at the time of making this video, I believe it's coming out at the 16th. I don't know, it's been delayed and changed that many times, so I've got no idea when the day is coming out at this point. But yeah, obviously, I'm extremely excited. So without further ado, let's start off with the wish list. And the first thing I'm going to be talking about in my 2020 Part 2 AFL Evolution 2 wish list, I guess, is the coach mode and what I really want them to change when it does come to the coach mode in our career. So for those of you who didn't know, there is a mode. It is called the coach mode. You do get it in when you do play career, and what you pretty much do is you do play as the coach of the team. You can pretty much change everything, and then you can go and trade players. You can draft players. You can re-sign your players and do all of that type of stuff. But if you guys haven't played it, I will tell you right now that it is pretty bad. Like, it is really, really bad in my opinion. It's just really, you only do it for some laughs. There are so many bad things about it that I think a lot of people do. Obviously, first thing we'll get started on, what I really hope they fix in the next one, is the simulation. The simulation at this point is it's just funny. It's just an absolute joke. It literally makes no sense. Like, one week you'll play a game and you'll be playing as, Richmond, who just came off winning the premiership in the season pack 2018, obviously. Playing against the worst team in the AFL in Gold Coast, and you'll play them and you'll score maybe, 100 points or something, and then Gold Coast will beat you by 10 points. Then the next week, you'll play another really bad team, for example, let's just say maybe Freo, who aren't exactly that good, and then the score will be 35 to 36 or something like that. The sim literally makes no sense. The best teams will oftenly lose to the worst teams, just on and on. It's not like a rare occasion or anything like that. The simulation just literally makes no sense, and yeah, it's a pretty big disaster. I don't exactly know how it works. I haven't figured out how it works. I think it's just literally gambling at this point for the game. It will just randomly pick who wins. It doesn't do it off anything. Like, for example, if one team is an 80 overall and they're versing a 70 overall team, well, you'd think they would have a 90% chance to beat them. While in AFL Evolution, it's more of a 50-50 chance. So I really do hope they do fix that in AFL Evolution 2. The other thing I really hope they do fix and they add is a free agency. There is literally no free agency in the game. Like, I don't understand how hard it really is to add a free agency. So if there's not a free agency in AFL Evolution 2, I will be very, very disappointed. Like, it's not hard to make a free agency if they made a draft and did all of that type of stuff. And it is just, yeah, it's not exactly the greatest thing at all. For those of you who didn't know, you do have an opportunity to re-sign your players. If you decide not to re-sign one of those players will actually go into the draft. And that is what I'm going to be talking about next. It's like, don't even get me started on how bad the draft is. The draft is literally just, it is absolutely shocking. There is literally, so as I was saying, there's no free agency. So if you don't sign a player, for example, Willie Rioli, Marbia Chol, and Ivan Soldo, those three players always end up in the draft. I have no idea why, but every single draft you do, I'm pretty sure those three players will most likely end up in the draft. If a team doesn't decide to re-sign them. And not having a free agency is just so bad. And the draft, why the draft is really bad is the draft makes no sense at all. For example, let's just say you got a young 18-year-old kid or something who is, one of the best in his draft class or something like that. The best in his draft class in AFL Evolution, he'll be like a 65 overall type of player. When we've clearly seen in the AFL that players like Sam Walsh do come in and usually do pretty well and are pretty much 80 overalls, I'd say, during the season. Like, Sam Walsh, it's not just Sam Walsh. Like, I mean, there's always players like that who are pretty good. And yeah, you'd think the pick one best player, if he was a midfielder or something, wouldn't exactly need too much time to get into it, so he'd be a pretty high overall. But those type of players go at like pick 30, because because there's no free agency, all the players like Marby, Chol, and Ivan Soldo all go at like pick 1 and pick 2 and all of that type of stuff. When in real life, if they were to get redrafted again, they would probably go somewhat, top 10 picks, but in the rookie draft and not the normal draft. So that's why they desperately need to, have a free agency, sorry. And then for the draft, they desperately need to have a way where people can submit and make their own drafts, because there are definitely people, I think, that would put in the time and effort to create their own draft for AFL Evolution 2, and, potentially as well, scout the draft in real life, see what players are good, and then, make a draft for that, and then, maybe you could be able to download the draft, and then you would be able to, use that draft while you're playing. I mean, most sport games do it. Like, I'm pretty sure FIFA does it. I know NBA 2K does it with their My League, which is exactly what the AFL Evolution team should be focusing all their attention on. I think is kind of making it how NBA have done it with their My League. I think that would be pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool thing to do. And one thing they should be looking on is upgrading the interface. The interface of the coach mode is so bad. Like, it's literally shocking. Like, the interface just reminds me of an old NBA 2K game from like NBA 2K12, or maybe even like lower than that. Like, the interface just seems so outdated on the game, and it's something they really got to improve. Like, I honestly think the NBA 2K20 interface could potentially have a bit more work improved on it, but that interface compared to the AFL Evolution 2 interface, especially with coach mode and all that type of stuff, the way just the home screen and everything looks is just pretty bad. It's not exactly that great at all. One of the last things I hope they do with the AFL Evolution 2 coach mode is make the picks a lot more, worth a lot more. I did just talk about as well how I think they need to actually add a way to put draft classes in and all that type of stuff, and a way for there to be a draft and free agency actually being separate. But I also think picks need to be worth way more. Like, I tried to trade in AFL Evolution where I was trying to trade, I think it was Ryan Burton and pick 16 for Chad Wingard or something like that, which I'm pretty sure got the deal done in real life. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people were actually saying that Hawthorn may have lost that because they had to give up a first round pick or something like that. Well, according to AFL Evolution, Port Adelaide were actually insulted by that offer. Now, you're pretty much offering them Ryan Burton, who's a very healthy young player who is from Adelaide and is a very good young player, as I just said, and a pick 16, which could also lead to being another good young player. For Chad Wingard, who had a couple of injury problems at Port Adelaide, didn't really want to be there and probably wanted to be at Hawthorn. Yeah, that deal apparently insulted Port Adelaide, even though, it got done pretty much in real life. So, I think they also need to work on how the trading works. And picks just being worth a lot more, because I'm pretty sure that pick 16 was worth about 72 or something like that, which there are average players who were better than 72 and all that type of stuff. I think it needs, pick 16 needs to be changed from a 72 to maybe a 75 or something like that, because, I think that's just what really needs to happen. And even like pick 1 is literally worth like nothing in the game, and I think pick 16 could get you a pretty solid player in the draft, and it's just not exactly the greatest thing. They definitely need to change that and how it works as well. One of the last things I also wanted to talk about in this wish list is I did also talk about how you can make your own draft classes, so then people could potentially download the draft classes. But what I also want them to add is just a whole entire thing where people can upload certain things. For example, draft classes, maybe free agencies. If the free agency is incorrect, maybe a couple players are re-signed, maybe they could add a new in-depth free agency or something like that. Another thing could be new rosters. For example, if the trade period is all done in 2020 and obviously they haven't updated it in AFL Evolution 2, maybe someone could make a 2021 roster, and then you could go ahead and download that. I think that would be very cool. A lot of games do have that. Obviously, I'm pretty sure NBA 2K20 literally has all of those things, and yeah, obviously, I think that would go along with making that a lot better. Is a way better system for you to be able to create your own character. Obviously, you know, to make rosters and that, if you're going to create new players, you know, new drafted players and everything like that, there has to be a really nice in-depth way to create and manage your own play. For example, in the game, there is a way to create a player. You can change his hairstyle and do all that type of stuff. I think it'd be cool if they added way more stuff to that, like, obviously, you know, a bunch of new hairstyles. But one thing would be cool as well is potentially animations. Like, you want to make this player special. Maybe he handballs a different way to most players. Maybe he kicks longer than certain players. Maybe he can mark a different way, or he's good at speckies or something like that. That would be very awesome in my opinion, and just something they definitely do need to update as well. Now, obviously, in previous wishlist videos, I have talked about certain things, how I would like to see a My Career mode or something like that, like an in-depth version of that. One thing that I'd like for them to go into and do that is maybe an under 18s combine, maybe a couple of mini games or something you could potentially do to go with it. I think would be pretty cool. Obviously, another thing I talked about as well could potentially be a My Team or Ultimate Team. I'll talk about that one more time, that I think they should be adding a My Team / Ultimate Team in it. Obviously, I don't think they will. I think we'll have to wait for the next game for them to potentially add something like that. But if they did add something like that, I think a lot of new players would potentially buy it. But I think it's pretty clear to see they haven't really looked to add anything like that. Because if they did, I'm sure they would have advertised it quite a bit right now. Because, yeah, I think it's something that a lot of players would definitely be quite interested in potentially seeing. But just more stuff that I want them to add is just a lot of new modes. You obviously see in the base game there is, you know, coach mode. There's like that mini My Career mode, which is pretty bad. There's single player, multiplayer, and all that type of stuff. Again, My Team would be, or Ultimate Team would be one of the modes I would like to see them potentially add. But there is just so many more things they could potentially be adding into the game. Like, obviously, they could change the coach mode and turning it into its own massive mode from Career, where they could, you know, make its new name, similar to like My League. That would be pretty interesting and something I think they could definitely do. But obviously, just so much other modes I think they could potentially add as well. Obviously, yeah, they might create some new ones. They could take some inspiration from 2K and FIFA. Like, they were even asked about a mode that would potentially be like a massive tutorial mode. Like, in the game right now, I think there's something called free play or something like that. And yeah, again, a lot of people are asking for maybe a massive tutorial mode where you could just literally do anything. You could set up all these certain things, and yeah, I think that would be particularly interesting as something they could add. I also touched on earlier, I think they could be adding new rosters, drafts, a new create your player type of thing. But again, other stuff they could look to do as well is maybe even creating your own stadium. Like, how cool would it be if you could create your own stadium in like California in America, or New York in America, or something like that? And maybe even create your own team as well as, you know, well, you could create your own stadium. But what if you could create your own team? You could do an expansion league, which would be pretty cool, which is in, I believe, NBA 2K20 as well, where you could have the AFL league of all the 18 teams, but maybe you could expand that and add a couple of teams from all across the world. For example, you could add teams from New Zealand, you could add teams from America, yeah, you could add teams from Ireland, all those type of places I think would be pretty interesting. And yeah, you could maybe build their own stadiums, all of that type of stuff. I think that would be very interesting. And if they don't do maybe a couple of those things in AFL Evolution 2, I will be quite disappointed. But yeah, a couple of those things definitely have to be added. And yeah, it's in pretty much every sports game where you can create your own player and do all of that type of stuff as well. One thing I've heard rumors that they could potentially be adding is something called a scenario mode, which I don't recall actually being in many other sports games. So it could be something very interesting and unique to AFL Evolution. And pretty much what a scenario mode is, you can actually go relive a certain moment from a certain game. For example, maybe the 2018 Grand Final, where you've got Dom Sheed about to be, you know, kicking that goal against Collingwood to put them in front and to win the game. Maybe you could do a scenario where you could play that out and Dom Sheed kicks the goal, you play the last 2 or so minutes of the game. And yeah, it'd be cool if they, you know, maybe added a bunch of scenarios, and yeah, maybe even added weekly scenarios or something after that to keep people playing the game and keep people coming back. Or maybe even adding some different scenarios in the DLC. Or yeah, again, that would be something I think would be very, very cool to potentially see them add. There's just so many new things they could potentially be adding. Again, as I was talking about, there's rumors that they have been adding new modes, and in the base game of AFL Evolution, or the vanilla game right now, there are only about, I think, 5 or so modes. There's like there's like the main 5 on the home screen. Then you can go on a career and play like those 3 separate modes of like coach and all that type of stuff. Again, maybe scenario mode would be a new mode that they are looking to add, and maybe some other couple of stuff here and there. But I think mainly what AFL Evolution 2 is, honestly think AFL Evolution 2 is just going to be a big way for the company to make quite a bit of money to work on the next one. So I honestly think the next one is where we could start to see most of this stuff eventually get added into the game. But yeah, hopefully they do still try and add some of that stuff into this game, and I think a lot of people will play it and enjoy it more if these features and quality of life improvements maybe are in the game as well. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest gaming, AFL Evolution content and all that type of stuff, and AFL Evolution 2 videos. Of course, yeah, more videos will be coming out, and when the game does come out, I will be doing my best to try and get a bunch of new videos coming out, exploring the new modes, doing the coach modes, rebuilding teams, and all that type of stuff. So yeah, definitely subscribe for that if you haven't already. I also do other sports content on here as well, such as, just normal AFL videos, NBA videos, and NFL videos as well. But also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, MIRO/Long Channels. Links for them are in the description down below. I may even post my AFL Evolution videos onto my gaming channel. I'm not too sure yet. I've also got a podcast if you haven't already seen that as well, where I talk about AFL, NFL, NBA content, and maybe even some AFL Evolution 2 content on there very soon as well. But as I was saying, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.